Welcome back. It's 2022 and I have a heap of really cool content and interviews lined up. We're kicking off the first one with my guest, Rocco Strydom. Rocco is the founder of AMS Trading. He is a guru on all things financial markets, trading, cryptocurrencies, and is also the host of the Stonks Moon podcast. I called Rocco in to talk about something that probably needs a deeper dive and is bound to play a crucial role in future marketing strategies. I hope you enjoy it, and as always, give it a like, give it a share, and feel free to join the conversation with us online. Rocco, I'm so excited to have you. You are officially my first guest of the year and what I'm dubbing season 2 after a strategic break. Thanks so much for joining me.
What an absolute honor. Always nice to be the first person back. No pressure. No pressure at all.
No pressure. Listen, you've got to top my interview with you, hey? So better beat that.
Well, let's try. Let's aim for aggressively mediocre, and then we'll see where we land.
Good stuff. So I wanted to talk to you today about a bit of a buzzword that's going around, and that's NFTs, something that I think a lot of people are still trying to wrap their head around. So for the people that don't really get it, what exactly is a non-fungible token?
Well, basically, I mean, NFT was word of the year. Let's start from that for 2021. And basically, a non-fungible token just means it's something that lives on the blockchain. It is a proof of ownership, and it's not exchangeable with each other. I mean, that's in layman's terms the easiest explanation that I can get. But I mean, I feel like we've passed this into, oh my word, what is it becoming now?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's kind of what's piqued my interest, because when the whole, cryptocurrency, blockchain, NFT thing erupted, I was like, okay, cool. Not really sure about it. Doesn't affect me. But now it's becoming such a relevant part in marketing. Because essentially it's a digital asset that brands are using to get people to buy into their brand, right?
So especially luxury brands, luxury brands.
Yeah, and like from my understanding, how it works is if Pink Soda Marketing had to launch an NFT and we sold a limited amount of one specific NFT, we could use that as a way to kind of pull people into our community. So say, for example, buy our NFT and we give you free access to any webinar we host going forward. Then it's in their benefit to get other people to buy into Pink Soda Marketing, because essentially it improves the value of their NFT, right?
So there's two schools of thought and there's two camps. There is the speculation camp, which is that NFTs is a digital asset like anything else that can be speculated upon. So that's where the rise of these communities come from. The Bored Ape Yacht Club, which probably the Logan Pauls and those guys being the most famous ones. That with Gary Vee, this is where people would buy a NFT to flex. Flex meaning to show off. This is my status. This is my digital status to the world. I belong to VeeFriends, which is Gary Vee's. So I can Twitter this morning, basically, I don't know if you saw, they came out Twitter Blue. Now you can use your NFT as your profile, which is for the community massive, because they're going to strike everyone that has your NFT as its profile picture. So that's the one part of it. And then we go into the part where I'm interested, is where you are, where your mind is the utility part. It's like, cool, what does this allow me to do? So my favorite example, and this one or two guys have done it in the States, is let's say your podcast, right? So you have an advertiser, and let's say, for instance, they come on board and say it's 100K a year, okay? So now for every episode that you have published, you can mint a token, right? And say, this token is worth 1% or 2% of the value of my advertising. You see where I'm going with this now? So now I'm invested into your podcast or to your business, and I can sell that token to someone else. Now it's got real value. Now I'm not only invested in your company, I'm invested in you, I'm invested in like your well-being and sort of who you are as a brand. And I think that's the utility aspect of NFTs that I'm the most interested. I'm not really keen on the speculation part, because then it's what is it different than, remember, I don't know if you ever, when you were little, you traded things like we traded trump cards or top cards and Pokemon, whatever it was. Everything at some point in time has value, right? And value is dependent on who believes it has value and for how long it depends. Those cards, some of them actually do still have value, like the Pokemon cards, believe it or not, but some don't. So with NFTs, it's the same. It's like these communities exist. Yeah, cool. But for how long do they exist until who decides that they don't have value anymore? But Kirsten's show or Kirsten's business, yeah, that's a totally different story.
Yeah, crazy. It's such an interesting space. And I think like we're only just at the edge of it, you know what I mean? It's really gonna blow up from here. So it's definitely something to keep a finger on the pulse of. So from my understanding, what I've kind of like dabbled around in and looked around is a lot of the NFT space is sort of linked to Ethereum as the cryptocurrency. So if NFTs are going to blow up, does that mean that Ethereum is set to blow up with them and become like a dominant crypto? Or do you think that it will start to spread across the different currencies?
Yeah, I think Ethereum's got a problem in the sense that it doesn't really scale well. And I think that's where we've seen the layer 2 players like Cardano and Polygon and those guys come in. Lower gas fees, which is the fees that people pay to actually create these NFTs. But what NFTs has done is exposed people to crypto that maybe were skeptical to the, the blockchain or the currency, whatever you want to call it, into a space where they are maybe more familiar. So yeah, definitely, I'm not going to go that as far as saying it will make Ethereum dominant, because if we've seen in this recent crypto sell-off, Ethereum has basically more or less performed the same as Bitcoin. So, but more people into the crypto space, more people are aware of it. And I think that's what NFTs bring to crypto in general and to Ethereum.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's also very fascinating to see how the consumer's mindset has started to shift, because I think the majority of people who weren't early adopters were going like, what is this cryptocurrency business? Like, how can it have value? It's like a made up thing. But if you think about wealth, humans have determined wealth forever. I mean, what made gold valuable? You know, humans did. We trade with pieces of paper. Okay, now we don't even trade with pieces of paper. We trade with plastic cards and fictitious numbers in our bank accounts. And here we're sitting going, well, what is a cryptocurrency? It's crazy. And the same is kind of, sorry, Rocco, carry on if you want.
No. Well, the central, belief in fiat system, which is government issued currency, is that your government backs the value, right? They say this is what it's worth. So I mean, it's no different. You see, the problem is where people get into sort of a cult mindset, that it's a bit cultish, right? It's if you go from the standpoint that crypto is an asset for speculation, then it's the same as anything else. You're quite right when you said this is nothing new, actually. It's just the digitalization of that value. I mean, paintings, like for instance, we've seen paintings at Sotheby's going for millions. So what's the difference here?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I think from the NFT space as well, like Gary Vaynerchuk also talks about it in such an interesting way, is that this is not a new space either, because people are hesitant. They're like, why should I buy a digital asset that I can't physically hold? Yet people have been spending money on skins, on Fortnite, on filters, on what was that farming thing?
like my wife plays design home makeover. Believe me, I know all about in-app mobile purchases. Gary this morning was talking about buying an island, right? Like VFriends Island, and then your VFriend NFT token is going to be your access to the island, which is wild. Think about, you used to have memberships to golf clubs or to like restaurants or fancy gentleman lounges and stuff like that. That's just going to go away. It's going to be replaced with your digital status symbol. And to me, that is absolutely, it's still mind blowing. And the thing is, the space is so hyper fluid that it's actually changing every week. So for those that are not maybe involved, go and read up or go and study, because the further you are behind now, the harder it's going to be to even catch up or partake. And you really don't want to be left behind here, because this is the next sort of movement.
I agree with you. And that's what I've been saying, is like the concept seems so futuristic. And something that, like, you know, even with the whole metaverse, people are still in the mindset that this is like the future, that we're going to be interacting in the metaverse. Like, wait, we already are. This is it.
Yes.
Like, it's here. And if you don't start understanding it better and getting involved, you're right, you're going to be absolutely left behind.
The guys from Gymshark just had their first meeting, I suppose, in quote unquote, not really the metaverse, but VR. In the VR space. So, I mean, these big companies are embracing it. It's not, so it's not a question of, hey, is it going to happen? It's already happening, and how you participate is up to you. I mean, you don't have to go all in, but at least stick a toe in the water and see, you know, what does it feel like? Is this for me? Isn't it for me? But don't, whatever you do, don't sit on the sidelines and cross your arms and go, you know, like that. I would say old people generally, because I'm also getting older. So for me, I had to check my own bias, right? Because I was like, I always said, I never want to be that person that gets old and goes, this is nonsense, whatever. And then before I like this, just when it began, I started getting those thoughts, right? And I'm like, oh my word, it's happening to me. I need to check my bias, because when cell phones came out, people were like, what's this nonsense? When the internet came out, people were, what's this nonsense?
Yeah.
The guys and the people that have sort of stayed with the times, they are rolling with this now. And the guys that haven't are literally the same people standing on the sidelines and shouting, what is this? What is this nonsense? So
I think from a social media perspective, so many people can say the same thing about TikTok. It's like, oh, TikTok, it's for kids. It's a load of rubbish. Now the user landscape has changed dramatically, and you're seeing a much older crowd, using TikTok as a space. And I think people are starting to go like, oh, this is not just trendy dance moves. This is actually a super cool place to be present.
South African TikTok channel is wildly entertaining. TikTok basically just overtook Google. So in terms of flow, in terms of throughput and people, visiting there. So it just shows you the power of these platforms. And I mean, they're also going to most probably adopt NFTs at some time. Facebook this morning came out and say, we're going to open our own NFT marketplace. These are the guys, Meta, at TikTok and Google, that are driving this movement. So we can sit back and say, oh no, this is rubbish, whatever, all what you want, but it's still your choice to get involved. And I would rather be a part, like even a 1%, a little part of something, than be completely left behind, because you never know. You never know. You just don't know.
Many people, I mean, fine, I was one of them, I'll openly admit. When people first started speaking about Bitcoin, it was like, oh, what a load of nonsense, pyramid scheme, rubbish. This is going nowhere. And had we invested back then, we would have been smiling much bigger right now. Anyway.
But that's the thing. But also, benefit of hindsight is, 2020.
Exactly.
There's so many things that you can say, if only.
Yes. So on the note of social media platforms, like you're saying, Facebook is starting to dabble in that space. I think they really have to, because of the shift with things moving to a more decentralized space, right?
Yes.
So
yes,
from what I understand, decentralized social media platforms where people can become creators at their own will. You can tip people for their content if you enjoy it. So it starts making that a monetized platform that's completely decentralized. And the same is true for the DeFi, not the washing machine, but decentralized finance.
not finance. Yeah, like the washing machine. Oh, that's a good one. I'm going to use that one.
So how does that give people some sense of security? Like, how does it work? Because someone said to me the other day, they were talking about it and they said, no, they're scared to invest in crypto because what if the server busts and they lose all their money?
Yeah,
and it's actually
it's a valid, but it's also a valid point, because there are, places where you can invest your money and then it's not necessarily that safe. Yeah. But if you look at the people, so let me start from the beginning. It's kind of a loaded question. The people that are actually building what they call Web3, which is they're trying to decentralize it. That's a big fight. It's between centralization, between the big tech companies, Google, Facebook, Apple, and decentralization. And one of the guys leading the charge is a guy called Alexis Ohanian. He is the ex-Reddit founder, which he's now running 776 fund. And those guys are pouring a lot of money into this decentralized space to make sure, or to build the structures that are needed, right, to re-envisage what the internet is, because the internet in its current form isn't capable of giving us that ownership. So, I mean, even you're going to take this podcast, you're going to put it onto all these platforms, but we don't own anything, right? Deso and these platforms are the first steps. So, yes, we are still very early. For now, I would say the best places or to stick to the sort of what companies are in the news, right? So in terms of NFTs, OpenSea is the big one, but already they've experienced some problems with hacks and stuff, accounts frozen. There's a new one that's coming now that's looking really promising, and it's called Looks Rare. And there's a lot of focus on community, a lot of focus on safety. So I just actually went and checked it out last week for myself. It looks very, funny enough, no pun intended, looks very good. And if you want to get involved into in this space, I would go on that platform and check it out, because at the end of the day, people are looking for community, right? Because that's what these things are about. It's like I keep hearing this term community. Yes, there are people that are trading NFTs for money. There are creators creating content for money. But at the end of the day, why do you subscribe to X person's channel? Why do you consume his content? It's you want to feel part of something bigger, and then the bigger that following and the safer you feel, that's just a recipe for like a very good recipe going forward. If I look at the space.
Yeah, and I think that's why, like you said earlier, especially the luxury space is so dominant and so successful, is because it's something that you want to say that you're a part of that luxury niche group. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's a very niche community. So going back to NFT.
Yes, okay. No, sorry, before. So that luxury is a very interesting thing, is because what people don't understand is, like, if we spend money, especially the younger generation, if we say we spend money on ourselves in the physical space, then it's like, why wouldn't you spend that money on yourself in the digital space? It might sound weird, but we don't spend as much time in in those digital spaces, immersed in those spaces. And flexing is it's a very real thing to show off to people, like, this is my status. So that's where the luxury, it's not like anything. It's your Cartiers and your Gucci's are getting involved. That's serious big names. And if they didn't take it seriously, they would have most probably be innovated, or disrupted, by someone else.
Yeah. Gucci's got such a strong game in general at the moment. It's very, very interesting brand to watch. So from the NFT perspective, if I want to create an NFT, if I want to become a creator, like where the hell do I start?
That's most probably the easiest thing that you can do, but it's the most intimidating because it's so new and foreign to anyone. It's not a process where I can say, oh, but it's like this, and or it's, you know, that you've done before. And I think that's the intimidating thing. But once someone shows you how, you just like, oh, this is easy. And like most things in life, we've gone through the pains and sort of the, you know, paid the school fees and stuff to say, okay, this is what you should do and what you shouldn't do. So the easiest way would be to get a MetaMask account, and just you can get it as a Chrome extension, and then basically link it to a cryptocurrency profile or your cryptocurrency wallet. And from there, you go to OpenSeas, and they've got a fantastic tutorial. Just Google how to mint NFTs on OpenSea. It's like, it shouldn't take you more than 15 minutes. They take you through they take you through. I mean, they've just raised an enormous amount of money, OpenSea, to basically build this community and build this platform, right? So, I mean, they want to make it as easy as possible for you to start buying and minting your own NFTs. And so that's where I would begin, but I wouldn't stop there. I would then from there go and look at Cardano, because of the fees are much lower, and I'm told the communities are more, I would say, accommodating, or it's more of a safe space, especially for women, because there can be a bit of a toxic culture in some of these spaces online. It's not necessarily only, I mean, if you've spent a bit of time on Reddit as well, you would have picked up it's not always flowers and roses, but finding a safe community is key. So yeah, get a MetaMask account, get yourself set up there, and then just look for OpenSea's tutorial, which is, in my opinion, the best. I've given that to numerous people, and they've all said, yeah, thank you, I came right. So yeah.
Cool. On that point, and I don't want to divert too far, but I think it's a very interesting aspect of the metaverse in general in this very young stage, is there's a whole lot of a safety aspect that is still a big concern when engaging in these virtual spaces. So it'll be interesting. I know there was a sexual harassment case that a woman laid in Horizon Worlds for being sexually harassed. And yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting space to watch and see how that sort of thing gets managed.
The same real world problems that we have currently is we'll have in those spaces. And you see, that's a problem with centralized versus decentralized. In fact, Facebook's approach, or they're trying to regulate what you just spoke about, sexual harassment, hate crime or hate speech, and all those things, and honestly not doing a great job, because it's not easy. So I'm looking forward to seeing how these guys actually tackle this problem, because just because something happens online doesn't make it less real. Actually, sometimes even makes it worse.
Absolutely. So last question, because I know we can probably chat about this stuff forever, but since the NFT space is still so new and there are a lot of people trying to jump on and become creators and make money out of this stuff, the risk factor I can imagine in investing in NFTs is so much higher now, because like, where do you go? How can you guarantee that brand or that creator is gonna, give you success?
But that's what you just said. But the distinction there is investment. The term investment implies a 5-year time horizon. Anything shorter than 5 years is called trading, and I think that's what people are doing now. So we've seen this. The rise in retail trading or day trading, right, came just after COVID, and it's now settled down a bit because the returns aren't what they were. The market is more difficult. So I think that's why people are now getting into, you see those people, the Robin Hood crowd, getting into NFTs because it is a sort of a newer space. It is a bit easier. But to talk about investing over 5 years, no one's going to be able to say, okay, this project is going to be around for the next 5 years. So that's where I see people making money and losing money, is actually trading digital images. I mean, and say people aren't making money is also disingenuous, because there are a lot of people, and especially the young people, seem to be able to figure out these things much easier. And I don't know what that's saying about our culture, or because we also look down on the young people. What do they know? There's guys making a serious living in this space.
Rocco, it has been such an interesting talk. Like I say, if I don't call it now, you and I will go down a rabbit hole. So thank you so much for just, diving deeper on the subject with me and explaining things that I do not have as deep an insight on. So thank you so much.
It's such a pleasure. And just rest assured that we might go 2 weeks further down the line and things have changed completely. So if you're watching or listening in the future, just keep that in mind.
Note to self, pressure to post this podcast quickly. Cool, Rocco. We'll chat soon. Ciao.
Cheers.